Hey everybody, it's Allie from Padfoot Palms, Poodles, and Pals. And I am just gearing up to start the live session here. Of course, all of the dogs were laying down and very peaceful and quiet until I went to hit the go live button, and now they're playing and barking. Because that is my dog mom life. Okay. Good times. We've got some really awesome topics for our live session tonight. So while I wait for people to join, hey, it looks like we got a couple people here. Hello. Hey, Allison. Thank you for posting a comment. I appreciate that. Awesome. We're ready. We're ready. If you guys are wondering, I am currently in my office, which I'm working on getting that set up. And the dogs are acting a fool.
I could take them out.
Yeah, why don't you let them run around outside for a little bit?
Send this email and I'm done.
Okay. If you're wondering what's happening, Suze is talking to you over there. Suze, wave to everybody. Hey, she's over there. She's over there.
My baby with the baby.
Okay, great. So, I was just about to say we have some really awesome topics that we're going to be covering tonight. So I've seen a rise in the posts about sibling syndrome, so I definitely want to touch on that. As many of you know, I just recently moved, so we're going to be talking about moving with your pets, things that you can do. Hey, Allison says, hi, Suze.
Hello.
So, things that'll help you with your move, things that I experienced that might be helpful for you. So, a couple of other things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the USDA and AKC inspections and what does that mean as far as if you are looking to purchase a puppy and the breeder has it listed on their site. Hi, Brenda. Great. People are joining in. Hello, everyone. Okay, we're also going to be talking about adding supplements and or fresh food to the diet and how you should go about doing this, either for puppies or adults, some of the things that you should have on hand that would be helpful. And that's going to lead us right into talking about transitioning, right? I'm seeing a ton of people that are upgrading their dog's food, and I'm loving it. But they're also having some challenges, so I'd like to give you guys some feedback on things that you can have on hand that'll really help you when you're transitioning your dog or puppy to a new food. Hey, Sarah's here. She says, happy Friday. Sorry, I bumped the tripod there. Hey, happy Friday. Friday. Look at my little pip. Yes. Hey, it's Friday. Okay. And then we're also going to be talking about fleas and ticks, because it's that time of year, my friends, when the fleas and the ticks, they come out, and mosquitoes too, right? Because I am like covered in bug bites. It's just that time of year. Okay, all right, well, it looks like people are starting to join, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in. If you are new to the Friday Night Live session, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. And don't forget that at any point, if you have a question, it can be completely unrelated to what I'm talking about. Just go ahead and drop it down in the comment section below, and I will scroll back up in the middle of my rambling and answer your questions. If we don't get questions, then I just keep rambling. So, okay, great. Kathy says, hi, Allie, missed you. Oh, I missed you too. I'm so excited to be in my new house, to be able to get back into doing these live sessions more often. So I'm so glad you guys are here. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, so let's jump right into it. First things first.
Okay. What is going on?
Kennedy's getting crazy. First things first, I wanted to talk about sibling syndrome. Now, inside the Facebook group, there is an entire file explaining in detail about what sibling syndrome is, what dogs can be affected by it, and what you can do to either prevent it or to work through it if you catch it in the beginning stages. This is one of those things where I really hate the name of it because it originated from breeders selling 2 puppies to a puppy buyer and then the puppy buyers having problems, right? So that's where sibling syndrome, the name kind of came from. However, it's misleading because the dogs do not need to be related in order to have sibling syndrome. It's usually just 2 younger dogs, puppies, less than a year old, and they're usually close in age, but they could be sisters, they could be a brother and a sister, they could be from completely separate litters and unrelated, they could be 1 month apart, 2 weeks apart, 3 months apart, right? So you really have to be careful and plan when you get your puppy. Now, one of the first questions that I get when someone is interested in getting 2 puppies is, okay, I want 2 puppies. What do you recommend? Well, I recommend that you get 1 puppy, get them house trained, then get your second puppy. And what that's going to do is it's going to set you up for success, set your puppy up for success, and it's going to eliminate a lot of the things that happen in the first 6 months when you have a puppy that can be problematic and lead to sibling syndrome. Hang on. Are you going to be able to take them out?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. The dogs were being so good until I, see what I mean? They were being so good until I went live. Yeah, now they're going crazy. Okay. Thanks, Suze. Sorry, hang on. Dogs are barking, dogs are barking. Okay, you got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go on. Your mom's gonna take you outside.
Okay.
Outside.
Yeah, outside.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You want me to shut this door or just leave it open?
Let's go ahead and shut it, just so I can
Well, all right.
kind of get through the topics here. Thank you. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so get the first puppy, right? Get them house trained, then add a second puppy to your home. So, Brenda said, now mine are barking. Love it. Too funny. Now I got everybody barking. So, yeah, so if you have 2 puppies or you're planning on getting 2 puppies or you have, say, a 6-month-old and you're looking to add another puppy to your home, please, please, please go check out that sibling syndrome document where I've got everything detailed about what you need to do. It is considerably more training and more work to have 2 puppies at one time, but it is manageable. It is something that can be done. It's just a matter of being educated before you jump into it and then taking it from there. Hi, Jessica. Okay, great. We got a bunch more people joining. Fantastic. Okay, and just so you guys know, if you have questions at any point about anything, please feel free to drop it down in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on rambling because that's how we do. On Friday night, I'm moving you a little closer so we can have some close time. Hey, Susan! Hey, I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so that was sibling syndrome. Next up, let's talk about moving with pets. So I just recently went through this. We just moved with all 6 of our dogs. And for those of you who have poodles, you know that they can be very sensitive. They're very much in tune with, you know, your level of stress, and they really just feed off of the energy that you have. And moving is just one of those life things that's very stressful, right? So we were lucky enough that Suze's mom was able to take Bear and Iceland, our 2 Pomeranians, kind of the week before we moved, just so they didn't have to deal with all of the stress of the actual move itself. Then we had the 4 poodles at home, and we were packing like crazy, which is very confusing for dogs because they don't understand where everything is going. They don't like the sound of the tape gun, right? And so we just tried to make it a very positive experience. We would work together, and like when I first started taping boxes, I would tape a box, right? And you guys know that tape gun is loud and makes a lot of noise. Hey, Susan. We've got 2 Susans in the house tonight. It's a Susan party. Okay. So I would tape with the tape gun, and then Suze would give the dogs a treat, right? Or she would play with them with the toy. And so while this tape gun sound was going, they were having a positive experience, either with a treat or with a toy, or she would run around with them in the living room, so that the tape gun sound became less of something to be concerned about and more of something that's just background noise, right? So it was actually very interesting to see each dog and how they reacted to the tape gun sound. And I actually think I'm going to incorporate it into my puppy rearing. And as some of you may know, when we have litters of puppies, we expose them to a lot of different sounds. And I try to always choose sounds that dogs tend to have a hard time with as they get older. For example, fireworks, the sounds of, a gun going off, things like that. So we try to play recordings of those sounds so that the puppies can be, more prompt to not have an adverse reaction to them. So seeing the dogs and how they reacted to the tape gun sound, I actually think I'm going to incorporate that into my program, because some of them really could have cared less, and then others who are more sensitive, like Shazam, were really very concerned about the tape gun and what was going on and why did it sound like that, and for a while he was a little bit jumpy. So part of that is because I think he's going through a fear stage right now, which is something that we'll talk about in another video. But it's a very natural thing that puppies go through as they age. There are various fear stages. So next thing is the diarrhea. And you guys know it would not be a live session if I didn't talk about poop. So we were very challenged with having 4 poodles with diarrhea, right? And it was just the stress of the move, the stress of the packing, the stress of feeding off of our energy as a family, the confusion of not understanding, the routine being changed, and all of that was just very stressful for them. So if you have a move coming up or a stressful event, I highly recommend that you pick this up. I do have it linked in my recommendation list in the group. And basically this is the pink stuff, right, that we humans use. But you have to be careful using Pepto-Bismol because it has ingredients that are not good for dogs. So this is just the anti-diarrheal, and it's of course safe for dogs because it's for use on animals. So I like to get this size. This is the 32 ounce. It lasts for a really, really long time. It does come in a significantly smaller bottle, but if you have multiple dogs, just get this size. It's just best if you don't run out of it. If you get the little small bottle, if you had one small dog, I would say that could work, but yeah. Now the other thing that Sue's actually picked up, so we have a bunch of these little syringes in a box somewhere, right? I feel like I've said that so many times in the last week since we moved. It's like, well, yeah, we have that. It's just in a box somewhere. So she was kind enough to run up to the store and pick this up for me, and I wanted to show it to you guys. I highly recommend that you get one of these. This is a syringe for a baby. And as you can see, if it'll focus there, it's got the different measurements on the actual, that's out of focus. Anyway, it's got the actual measurements. So 0.5 of a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons, 1.5, 1 teaspoon. And what you do is there's a little arrow here on the side, and you just select how much you want to pull out. So let's say for your size dog, you needed 0.5 teaspoons, right? So you've just got your little blue triangle here. And then when you go to suck up the anti-diarrhea medicine, it will only go to that measurement. And then you're good to go. Just ignore the water because I washed this. So for anyone who's concerned about dosing, or if you have to dose multiple dogs that are various sizes, this makes it so easy. And she picked this up at CVS. So it's just a little, it was a couple of dollars and it was fantastic. So I just wanted to show that to you guys. Some other things to have on hand are either pumpkin powder or pumpkin puree. It's always good to just have that on hand. Of course, I had some, but it was packed up, so that really didn't help me. And the other thing is slippery elm bark powder. So it usually comes in a capsule. You can just open up the capsule and, you know, mix it into their food, or you can just give them the pill. So let me scroll back up here because it looks like we had a question. Okay, Kimberly has a question. I'm looking for joint support with MSM, sorry. What brand do you suggest? So I don't have a specific brand that I suggest that has the MSM. I think, and I would need to double check it to be sure, I think that the New Vet joint, the DS, I believe has the MSM in it. I would have to double check that. If you're looking for the link to that, it's in the announcements. I have a whole post about it. So I would double check that first to see if it has it. If not, you may be looking at doing 2 supplements. And here's why I say that. A lot of these joint supplements that you see, you know, online or in the stores, they have all these binders and just junk ingredients, right? To make it into a chew or to make it into, you know, a pill pocket, or make it into a little tiny treat or a biscuit, right? They put all these extra ingredients in there that your dog doesn't need. And most of them are problematic, right? So that's why I say a lot of times you'll have to do 2 supplements rather than just 1. But as far as joint supplements go, I am a huge fan of the New Vet, the New Joint DS, which is DS just means double strength. And I'm assuming if you're looking for the MSM, then you have a dog who is in need of the double strength. So there's also just New Joint, right? Just the regular version. And that's the one that I recommend for dogs with patella issues that are a grade 2 or lower, or who may be looking at potentially having, you know, hip dysplasia or something like that in the future, but they don't have it yet. You could start out with the New Joint. So yeah. Okay, Susan has a question. We're going to be moving across country in July. Oh my goodness. We feed between raw and cooked human food. Any suggestions on how we can do feeding this traveling in a moving van? Okay, Susan, this is what I would do. 2 weeks or more before you're set to move, I would transition your dogs to a freeze-dried raw. I'm a huge fan of the Vital Essentials freeze-dried. Again, I've got it linked in my recommendations. I like it because it's very easy to travel with. They're small pieces, so big dogs can eat it, little dogs can eat it. If you want to rehydrate it, it's very easy to rehydrate. If you need to package it into pre-portioned baggies for your dog so it makes your life easier while you're traveling, you can absolutely do that because they're small pieces. So, yeah, so that's what I would recommend. Transition them to a freeze-dried raw. Don't try to do raw or cooked, during your trip, right? Because that's just going to be stressful for you. You can do the freeze-dried raw. It'll make life easier. Then once you get there, keep them on the freeze-dried raw for another week or two, just because it's a huge transition, right? Falling back to what I was saying earlier about moving, it's stressful. It's super stressful for the humans. It is doubly stressful for the dog because they don't understand what's happening. They're just like, for days, Velocity kept looking at me like, okay, Mom, when are we going to go home? Right? Because they don't understand. So transition to freeze-dried raw and then keep them on it after you move. Make sure you've got some things on hand in case there's any diarrhea, right? You could do pumpkin powder, which I also have linked. It's available, very affordable on Amazon. And I would just travel that way. That way you've got something easy, it's pre-packed. If you have larger breed dogs, you can do the freeze-dried patties, right, which are larger. Just keep in mind, with the patties, dogs have a tendency to get very, very thirsty if you don't rehydrate them. So a lot of that is really going to depend on how you're moving. So yeah, that's what I would do. But yeah, fingers crossed for you, because that is a huge move. Okay, Jessica said, what if a new puppy has diarrhea and refuses to eat after you bring them home? Okay, so this is very common. It's one of the reasons why I don't recommend that anybody change their puppy's food when they first bring them home. Now, what you need to take into account is that your puppy has just gone through the most stressful thing in their whole life. They've been taken away from their family, right? And their mom, the only place they've ever known. And assuming that you purchased from, a high quality breeder, a very sterile environment, which can be problematic for puppies because we bring them home, we have a whole new set of germs in our house, and sometimes that can cause a puppy to have diarrhea. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to leave it for a long period of time. So if you are feeding the exact same food the breeder was feeding, you said that your puppy is refusing to eat. So I would see if it's a matter of the food, call your breeder, make sure that you're feeding it the same way. Some breeders are, they'll soak it in water to kind of soften it up. And the breeder may have forgotten to mention that to you. You could, if the puppy is not eating, you could try some meat, right? So maybe some cooked ground beef or some pieces of cooked shredded chicken. See if the puppy will eat. If the puppy is refusing that, then you need to take them to the vet. But you don't want to leave them for more than 12 hours if they're not eating and they have diarrhea. If they're drinking water, okay, good. At least that's something. But you definitely don't want to leave it for a long period of time. If you have a small breed puppy, then even less time. So, yeah. It could be a couple of different things. It could be internal parasites like worms or Giardia or Coccidia. It could be that the puppy is just stressed out and so they're not eating. There are a lot of variables. So I would just say, I think she just said it's a Pomeranian. Yeah, they're very small as puppies. So depending on when your puppy stopped eating, I would go ahead and get them to the vet. If they're drinking water, that's good, but you really don't want their blood sugar to get low. The other thing that hopefully your breeder either told you about or gave you is Nutrical, which is, it comes in a tube. It's a high-calorie, nutritious paste that you can give to puppies. So if you have that on hand, absolutely give that. If they won't take it, just put a little bit on your finger and just kind of wipe it into their mouth, on their tongue, and essentially make them eat it. If you don't have that, then don't waste any time to go get it. At that point, it's already too late. But yeah, I would not leave a Pomeranian puppy with diarrhea and refusing to eat for more than, okay, she has 2 tubes. Okay, so yeah, so let me know in the comments if you give that to the puppy, does the puppy eat it on their own? Will they eat it and throw it up? Give me some more details. Okay. Pat says, I have slippery elm powder, easy to mix in the food. Yes, it is. Okay, great. Let me scroll down. Okay, all right, that gets to the end there. Woo! You guys were going for a ride for a minute. Yeah, Jessica, give me some more details so I can help you there. It can be very challenging with Pomeranian puppies because, they're little sensitive sweethearts, and then the next thing you know, they're like, I don't want to eat, I don't want to do anything. So it can be challenging. The key is don't let their blood sugar get low, and keep them hydrated, because that is the biggest thing. Susan said, I had to get off for a second. Did you happen to address my question? Yes, I did. Let me go back up. Yes, yours was the cross-country move. Okay, yes, I did. I gave you a couple of different options, so just hang tight for me, and when you catch the replay, I will post it both in the group and on the YouTube channel, then you can catch it. But yeah, I gave you some options. Okay. Jessica said, I don't have my puppy yet, just had an experience earlier. I do have a 2-year-old Pom as well. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, the key is to make sure you don't let their blood sugar get low, keep them hydrated. If there's diarrhea and it does not resolve itself and your puppy stops eating, then you could give it maybe 6, maybe 8 hours. I wouldn't go much longer than that, especially with a small breed puppy. Definitely not more than 12 hours, because that can be the first signs of parvo. It can lead to hypoglycemia, right, where the blood sugar drops. Then they're having seizures, and you've got a whole other list of problems. So yeah, it's one of those things where, especially if it happens and it's during the day and you can get into the vet, right, that would be most beneficial. Okay, great. Susan said, I'll check the replay. You're very welcome. And Jessica said, thank you so much. You're also welcome. Okay, great. Okay, so next up, we're going to touch briefly on USDA and AKC inspections. So I've been getting some questions from people that are researching breeders, which, by the way, high five to you people. That is phenomenal. I love getting questions where people are saying, hey, Allie, can you take a look at this website, or take a look at this breeder, or take a look at their Facebook page and tell me, is this a real breeder? Is this a scammer? I am always happy to take a few moments and keep somebody from getting scammed, because there are so many out there that have what appear to be a legitimate website or a legitimate Facebook page. And then, me seeing these all the time, I can immediately peg it, and I'm like, nope, that's a scammer. Nope, that's a puppy broker. Nope, that's a puppy mill, right? You just have to know what to look for. So I am always happy to answer those messages and help people. And one of the things that's been coming up is people are looking at a breeder's website, and it'll say USDA inspected or AKC inspected. So this is one of those things that breeders will put on their website. It's totally fine to put it on a website, you know, and sometimes they make it seem like it's some kind of achievement, and I don't want to offend any breeders, but it's not. It literally means nothing. So one of the things that the AKC does, and for those of you who don't know, AKC is a registry, right? They are essentially glorified bookkeepers who track pedigrees of dogs. And one of the things that they will do is they will go and inspect a breeder's facility, whether it's their home or a kennel or whatever the case may be, once they've reached a certain number of litters. Nobody knows what that number is. Sometimes people are just chosen at random. And what they do is they schedule a time to come out, so the breeder knows that they're going to be coming out. And they have a checklist of things that they go over. And basically they want to see that the dogs are, have access to clean food and clean water, that they can, get away from their potty area if they need to, that they are housed in some kind of building that is, keeps them safe from the elements. The criteria is very similar to what you would see if an animal control officer came out. So it's really very straightforward. For example, there are many puppy mills who have been AKC inspected. There are many backyard breeders with a whole ton of dogs that are not well kept who have been USDA inspected. So I don't want anybody to read that on a website or a page and think that it's more than what it is, right? People think that AKC is some kind of regulatory entity that's, helping produce quality dogs. And while we would all like for that to be true, in this specific instance, it's really just, they're not really doing all that much more than an animal control officer would do, right? You could have dogs that have dog houses that live their life 100% outside on a chain, have food and water, and their area gets cleaned up from their mess, and they would be approved, right? But I think that you and I would both agree that that's not okay. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that because I have gotten a few questions about it. Okay, let's see what Donna says. We would like to take our Pom to get groomed, but I'm afraid to do so. He is not mean, but is afraid of anything different. What do I do? He even tries to bite me when I put his harness on. Okay, so it sounds to me like you have a lot of work cut out for you. Let me get something here. Okay, so the first thing that I would recommend is you find a trainer or a behaviorist that's willing to come out to your house and work with you with your dog. I'm going to give you a couple of different options of things that you can do, but really you need to nip this in the bud, because the longer this behavior goes on, the worse it's going to get. Did you mention how old your dog is? I don't think you did. So as they get older, the behavior will get worse and it will actually escalate. So one of the things that you can do is when you're going to, let's start with the harness. So you can get the harness out, give your dog a treat. Get the harness out, you know, kind of move it around on the floor, give your dog a treat. Put the harness away. He's 9 months, Donna said. Okay, yeah, you definitely need to bring in a trainer. Then, an hour later, you bring the harness out, give him a treat. You lay the harness down in front of him. Anytime that he gets close to it, you give him a treat. And I highly recommend that you use very, very small treats. So what I like to do is I like to cook up some lean ground beef. Just cook it, strain it, rinse it, right? Which we normally wouldn't do, but rinse it, get a lot of that extra fat off of there. And then portion it out into Ziploc bags and freeze it. And you want it to be really like small, crumbly pieces because you're going to be giving a lot of treats and they're very high value, right? It's ground beef. So it's going to make him want to interact with you, but you also don't want to give him too much fat because then that could cause a problem, right? Give him diarrhea. So anytime he gets close to the harness, you're going to give him a treat. Don't worry about saying anything. Don't worry about praising him. Just when he gets close to the harness, if it's laying down or it's in your lap or it's at your side or it's beside you on the couch, if he gets close to it, give him a treat. We need to change how he feels about the harness. And don't worry, I'm going to touch on the grooming thing too. I'm just getting you started with the harness part because I know that can be frustrating. So then once he starts to do better with that, and you're going to have multiple sessions, you're going to have multiple sessions with him throughout the day. Right? So an hour here, an hour there, right? Every hour or so. And they're just going to be short little sessions where you've got the harness in your lap, the harness in your hand, the harness on the floor in front of you. You're just going to make him think that when this harness comes out, it is the best thing ever. And you'll find that after a few days, he's going to start to get excited about the harness, which is great. That's what we want. So then after you do that for a few days and you notice that he's starting to have a positive reaction to the harness, then you want to take it to the next level. Now you want to take the harness and kind of open it up, and I wish I had one here next to me. I'm sorry that I don't. You want to take the harness and open it up, right? So this is the ring where his head would go through. And you want to hold it up and hold the treat on the other side of it. So he has to put his head through the harness in order to get that treat. And that becomes the new game. It's like, hey, I've got the harness out. Okay, come get your treat. Yay, good job. Now you're going to start praising. You can mark any good behavior with a yes, right? That's always good. You can mark good behaviors with, yes and good boy, or yes and his name, right? And so he starts to associate, okay, this harness is a good thing. And when I come over here and I put my head through it, I get treats and mom's happy with me, right? So we're changing how he feels about the harness, because right now, what I'm sure it is it's a mad dash to tag him and get him down and hold him down and put it on him. And he's like, ah, right? Because that's what happens with little dogs. He's like, no, don't touch me. I don't want to be controlled. I'm a teenager. I'm 9 months old. Get away from me, mom. I'm not doing what you say. I don't want to go. I want to go. I don't want to go. I want to go. Right? And this is the way of the world with a 9-month-old puppy, right? They're kind of in that teenager phase. So we need to change how he feels about the harness. So eventually you work up to, okay, he's putting his head through. Okay, now we're going to put it on you. We're going to lay it on you and give you lots of treats. It's called flooding. So we're going to put your head through. We're going to place the harness down on you. You're not going to try to fasten it or anything. And then you're going to give him lots of treats. Yay, good boy, right? Then that becomes the game. And so every few days, you're kind of upping the ante on what you're doing with the harness. So eventually you get to the point where he's excited about the harness, you're putting it on, you're a good boy, maybe you lay some treats down on the floor in front of him and you snap it on, or you do the Velcro. The other thing that you want to keep in mind, Donna, is depending on what kind of harness you have, if it's Velcro, if it has a snap, if it has a buckle, if any of those things are making a sound that he doesn't like, or let's say it has a buckle, right, which is popular on harnesses, and let's say his hair got caught in it one time, it only took that one time for him to say, oh my gosh, this really hurts me, I don't want it on me, right? So you may want to look at the type of harness that you're using, and you may want to try to find something that's a little bit easier. I love the type of harness for these types of dogs that are sensitive to a harness, where all you have to do is put their legs in, right? You can set it down in front of them. I wish I knew where my harnesses were. I'm so sorry. I'm just using my hands here. You set it down in front of them and you can put their legs into the harness and pull it up, and then it just clips. Right? So it's just one fluid motion. You just set their little legs into it and you pull it up and boom, you're done. Right? Some of these harnesses is like it goes over their head. It goes around their midsection. It's got a clip here, a Velcro here, and then you're trying to attach the leash. It's too much. For some dogs, it's too much. So, Donna, I would definitely take a look at the harness you're using. Consider changing to something else that might be easier for him to wear or to get into. So that would be one thing. Now, going back to your question about grooming, if you are not brushing him every other day, you need to be. And he's probably not going to like it at first. If you... she said, I have one like the one you're talking about. Okay, fantastic. So when you're brushing him, you need to make sure you're getting all the way to the skin. And one of the ways that you can do that is after you brush, you go through with a comb. Because if he is matted down there at the skin, he's A, not going to like a harness, and B, when you take him to the groomer, he's going to have to be completely shaved. So run a comb through him, go all the way. You need to be able to see the line of the skin while you're brushing. So you brush upward, and then it's called line brushing. You can see the skin and you're brushing upward, and that line of the skin is going down, getting closer to you, right? As you go up. And that way you know you're getting all the way to the skin, and then after you brush, then you comb through. And if the comb goes through easily, you're all set. The other thing you can do to desensitize is to get one of these. And I know, I think this is on my recommended list. I'm pretty sure it is. There might be 2 of these that are listed, and the recommendation list is in the files. It's called my recommendation list with links. And this is just a very small, as you can see there, little groomer. As you can see, it's not very loud. It doesn't need batteries. It plugs into a little USB. Donna said he's biting me the whole time I try to brush him. Yeah. You're just gonna have to work with him. Give him it. Donna, do you have like a Kong or a trachea that you could stuff with some goodies and give him something to do while you're brushing him? Because that would help. If he's just laying there and you're trying to brush him, I mean, he's a teenager. He's going to be like, no, Mom, I don't want to take a shower, right? I want to be dirty forever. So if you can give him something to do that he really loves, like, okay, she said, yes, I have a Kong. Okay. Stuff the Kong with amazing goodies, right? Like the ground beef, the frozen ground beef, cottage cheese. You could do a little bit of peanut butter if you like to give peanut butter. I'm not a huge fan of peanut butter, but if that's something that he likes, basically you want to keep him focused on the Kong, and then you are very gently going to brush him. Don't try to do a full brush out on the first day. Give him the Kong, make him lay there with you, brush him for maybe a few minutes, and then stop. Again, you're just trying to reiterate to him that, hey, brushing is good, right? Putting on a harness is good. We're changing the parameters of when we groom the dog or place the harness on them. Now, the other thing I want you to do is get him tired. Before you set him down with that Kong, he needs to be exhausted. Run him around, have him play fetch, take him on a long walk, whatever you need to do. He needs to be very, very tired. I have a saying, a tired dog is a good dog. Make him tired. Have him lay down with you while he's chewing the Kong, trying to get all the goodies out of it, and then you brush him. But don't try to do too much. Remember, you want him to have consistently good, positive interactions, right, or experiences with the thing that you want him to be good about. I hope that makes sense. If it's the harness, you want good experiences. It's those, every time you have a good experience, you're building up, building up, building up. And that's, hey.
You know where the garbage bags are?
Under the sink.
Right, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah. Sorry. Every time you have a good experience, you're building up. And eventually, you can have him lay down with you. He's got his Kong. He's not necessarily tired. And you're just going through and brushing him, and you can brush out his whole body. And then he's fine. And then eventually, you don't even need the Kong, and he just lays there and takes a nap, and you can brush him. Right? But you have to take all the baby steps, all those positive interactions that were just a few minutes long will get you to that end goal. What the other thing I was going to say to prepare him for the groomer is you get one of these and you don't actually shave him with it. You just touch them. Touch them on the foot, touch them on the leg. For poodles, you touch them on the face, touch them behind the ear, on the head, right? And then treats, lots of treats. Yeah, good boy, treats. So now when I turn this on, all of my dogs come in to see what's going on. They're like, hey, are we going to get a treat? We heard the thing. When the thing goes off, that means we get a treat, right? So they start to make this positive association, and it really helps you get the grooming part done. So Donna said, I can't wait till that day comes. Yeah. Well, I'm giving you some little things that you can do to kind of get you started, but you definitely want to bring in a trainer because they're going to be able to give you specific things that you can do that will help him. So I'm giving you very general advice, but you definitely want to bring in a trainer. And even if it seems a little bit pricey, you're not going to need, months and months of training. What they'll do is they'll teach you the different things that you need to do, walk you through it. They'll have you do it for a week or two. Then they'll come back and see how the progress is, right? So you may only need like 4 training sessions, right? So it doesn't have to be cost prohibitive, but you just have to be committed to working with him a little bit at a time every day. And you will see a difference. You will see a difference. Kennedy, my red standard poodle, she used to hate this thing because I use it to trim right here on their face. As their hair grows out, right here has a tendency to get really dirty because their eyes tear, right? and the pollen is terrible. Don't we all feel that way? So I like to keep this area trimmed because then it's very easy for me to just take a damp washcloth and clean their eyes, right? Get the little eye boogies out, and it doesn't stick to their hair, which can then become painful if you try to, clean it. So I just take this, zip that little area, keeps it nice and clean, and then I can just wipe their face with a washcloth and they're good to go. Kennedy used to hate this. Of all 4 of my poodles, she was the only one that, she would actively run. So every day, multiple times a day, I would take it and turn it on, and I would take it and I would just run it down her nose. Yay, good girl. Just that quick. That was like, 3 seconds of an interaction? But that's all she could take. That's all she could take. And her eyes would get big and she was ready to run away. But the more I did it, these little 3-second interactions, the more she realized, oh, hey, this feels kind of weird, but nobody's trying to hurt me. I'm okay. And so we kept having positive interactions. We're building up. And now I turn this on and she comes running in and sits down in front of me, lays her head on my knee, and I can just clean her eyes. Yay, good girl. And she's good to go. So just remember, take those baby steps. And if it's too much for your dog, if they start to have any regression, or they're pulling away from you, or they're just, not feeling it at that time that you're trying to do training, don't try to force it. Remember, your goal is always to have a positive interaction, even if it's only for 3 seconds. You go for it. Just like the thing on the nose. 1, 2, 3. Yay, good doggy. Okay, we're all done. Bye, go play. And they're thinking, what just happened? Okay, well, that wasn't that bad. Right? Sometimes it's just all in their head. So if you desensitize them to that, all of this to say, Donna, that this will help your Pom to be able to go to the groomer. And the other key thing is to talk to your groomer. I highly, highly recommend that you find a groomer who is in private practice, right? So they're not at a big box chain or something like that, where they are required to do certain things, based on that company's rules. Find a small groomer that's got their own little private shop, and talk to them and say, hey, these are the challenges that we're having. I'd like to get him used to grooming. Would you consider, me bringing him in maybe 3 times a week, and you just come in and act like you're going to scissor cut him so he can hear the scissors, and then he gets a treat, and then I take him out, right? And you'll find that groomers are often very much willing to work with you to take those baby steps, right? So that your dog can be comfortable. Because we all love dogs. We don't want them to have a bad experience. So, but yeah, definitely getting the, taking those baby steps, getting a trainer, all of that is going to help. Okay, I'm just scrolling back up here. Jessica said, is there a specific harness to use for a Pomeranian? I found several that I like, but has nylon on the chest area. So there's not a specific one to use. I do have a post in the group that talks about different harnesses and how they can impede mobility and kind of pull on the shoulder bones that are right here. Hey, Suze.
Yo.
Are you busy?
I was just going to do one thing, and then I remembered that I got to send a...
Okay. I was going to have her run and go get a harness, but...
No, I can. I just got to send this real quick.
Okay. So,
opening the door.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, the ones where they're stepping into it, right? and it's kind of like a T shape, right? That can be good. I'll show you the harness here in a second. So just bear with me, Jessica. We'll get that for you so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, Allison's got something. Off topic, side note, quickly. The cats loved their day-old quail. Zoe loved her lamb trachea, and Chevy loved his turkey neck. Fantastic! I love it. I have not been able to give the dogs any chews since we moved because we've been dealing with the diarrhea.
Diarrhea.
Yeah, diarrhea. So, but that's awesome. I love that. Okay. Natalie said, I found that those harnesses were super easy, but my vet didn't recommend it because it wasn't a no pull and it irritates my palm's trachea. Okay, so a lot of that depends on how much hair they have. And I mean, you definitely need to go with whatever fits your palm best. Some of them can be really fluffy in the front, and so a different style harness would fit them better. But yeah, you definitely don't want anything pulling on their trachea. Okay. Scroll down. Donna said, thank you very much. You're very welcome. Okay, so I think I'm all caught up on the questions. So let's talk about adding supplements or fresh food to your dog's diet. So as you guys know, I am a huge fan of fresh foods. But anytime that you're adding something new, whether it's a supplement, a fresh food, a treat, a new food, you need to add it in a little bit at a time. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. They go, oh, hey, my dog has dry skin. I'm going to start adding coconut oil. I'm going to add a sardine. Okay, well, these are both great options. But then they get crazy with it right off the bat. So they've got a small dog, they're adding in 2 sardines into their food and a huge scoop of coconut oil, and then they post in the group and they're like, oh, well, I tried to add this to my dog's food, but he got diarrhea.
Did it too fast.
Yeah, so you gotta ease these things in. If you're gonna add a sardine and they've never had a sardine before, okay, let's start out with a piece of a sardine. 1 time a day and see how they do for a couple of days. Everything's good? Okay, let's give them a bigger piece. Let's split it to 2 times a day.
Make sure it's not the oil kind, but in water.
Right, sardines packed in water, right? You can find them at Walmart. They're super cheap.
That'll do it too.
Right, yes, that'll do it too.
Been through that one.
So if you're going to start adding a krill oil or a fish oil or coconut oil to your dog's food, then start out with a very, very tiny amount. Even if you have a big dog, even if you have a puppy or a small dog, start them out small and slowly build your way up. If you've got a new supplement that you're going to be using, right? Like say you got the new vet wafer, right? And you're going to give them the multivitamin, which my dogs love, by the way, because it's made with powdered chicken liver. So instead of just giving them the whole vitamin, break it into 4 small pieces, give them a 1/4 of it, right? Make sure that your dog is not going to have some kind of reaction. And unfortunately, we have really done ourselves a disservice by all of these dogs that have been fed, 1 kibble their whole life, right? They've never been fed anything else. We've really done them a disservice because then when we want to start introducing fresh foods, we want to give them supplements to make their food better. Their body's not used to it. Their microbiome can't handle it, right? So you have to slowly work up to it. Okay. The same goes for transitioning. You want to make sure that you have things on hand, right? Slippery elm powder, the Pectolin, right? So that as you transition, if there's any issue, you can already start to address it. Go ahead and put the pumpkin powder or the pumpkin puree in the food. It's not going to hurt them to have it, you know, preemptively to ward off the diarrhea. Susan said, I just got the dehydrated Meat Max. Do you rehydrate before giving it to the pup? Okay, so the Meat Max, you don't have to rehydrate it. You can. It's a little bit tricky to get it to reabsorb liquid, but no, you don't have to rehydrate it. If you were doing the raw nibs, which is their freeze-dried version, then I would definitely say rehydrate it. But the Meat Max it's more of an air-dried jerky style food, so it does have some moisture in it. But if your dog likes high moisture, you can always, you know, put it in some warm bone broth. You could do kefir, you could do goat's milk, you could just do water. So yeah, but I would say if you want to rehydrate it, Susan said it's fine just the way it is. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I give it to my dogs both in their food and as a treat, and I don't rehydrate it because it has more moisture content than, say, like a freeze-dried or a kibble, so it does have some moisture to it. So yeah, okay, great. Let me see. Okay, so hey, Louisa's here. Hello. So glad you're here. Okay, so last topic is one that is definitely a big one, and that is fleas and ticks. And I know that there are a lot of people who are struggling with fleas and ticks, and mosquitoes. I should throw them in as well. So I just wanted to give you guys some options that work really well for us that you can spray on yourself or on your dogs. So first up is Neem Spray. And you can get any Neem Spray. It doesn't have to be this brand. I order this from Chewy.com. This is the Arc Naturals Neem Spray. And it smells almost like earthy and citrusy. It's very strong. So it's something to keep in mind. Your dog is probably not going to like it. But here's what I do. I spray this on their back. So like if this is your dog's head and this is their butt, I spray it back here on their back, like halfway down and to the butt. And then I rub it in and I let them go play for a little while outside. And what that does is it doesn't concentrate the smell right up by their head. People have a tendency to put things like right at the back of their neck, and it can be very, very strong smelling. These natural products, they have these oils in them and citronella and things like that that smell very strong, even to us. So to a dog who has much more in the way of, smelling, to them, it's like sensory overload. So put it on their further back, put it on their butt, rub it in, let them spend some time outside. The other thing you can do with stuff like this is you can spray it, like if you have a back door that you let your dogs out, you can spray that door frame with the neem. Now, if your door frame is white, or if you have any white trim or anything like that, if you spray it consistently, it will leave like little tiny yellow droplets all over the place. So keep that in mind. But yeah, you can spray the ground. You can spray, if you have a doggy door that you use, you can spray the inside of that so that when they come through, if there's anything on them, it's like, oh, they're trying to get away. Spray the outside of the doggy door. So there are a lot of options that you can use this. Like I said, you can spray yourself. So keep that in mind. Another really great option is Wondercide. This is the rosemary scent, but we like all of the different scents. I just happened to get this one. Again, same idea. You can spray this in your home. You can spray this outside. I like to spray all around the doorway because then as you're letting your dogs in and out, right, they come in, the bugs aren't following them in. So, okay, I think we got a couple of questions, so hang on. Pat said, too much sardines equals soupy poop. Ask me how I know. Yeah. Yeah, that'll get you. The sardines, I mean, they, nutritionally speaking, they are phenomenal, but they're very oily and very dense, and it can really be problematic for some dogs. Okay, Susan said, I use the Only Natural Pet tick tags for fleas and ticks. Been using them for years. Weird, but they do work. Fantastic. I have not used those before, but yeah, now that we have a much larger property with lots of trees, I'm definitely going to look into that. So awesome, Susan. Thank you for sharing. How often do you need to spray if they go outside daily each time? Okay, so that's going to depend, Natalie. That's a great question. It's going to depend on your area. For example, if you are in the South and it's, you know, super peak bug season, you may need to spray them every time. If you are in an area where you're just kind of doing, you know, your due diligence to protect them, but you're not being swarmed by bugs when you go outside, then maybe you could do just once a day. So it's really going to depend on your area, where you're located, and the level of bugs. So yeah, but that was a great question. Okay, great. I think we caught up on all the questions there. Okay, so that was all the topics that I had for today. If you guys have any questions here to wrap up, definitely let me know. Otherwise, oops, sorry, I just bumped you. Otherwise, I'm going to jump off of here and eat some dinner. Natalie, you're very welcome. Okay, great. And like I said, super excited to be in the new house. We're going to be doing these live sessions more often. So I hope that you guys will tune in every Friday, and we'll start doing them during the week, on the weekends. I know sometimes are better for people than others. Yeah, you're very welcome, Barb. Okay, great. Okay. Just checking to make sure there aren't any last minute questions. I know sometimes it takes a minute to show up. Okay, I think we're good. You're very welcome. Oh, Brenda said, thank you so much. I learn something every time you're on. Congrats on the new home. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're super excited. I'm going to have some videos coming out showing, you know, the dogs and the new huge yard. They love it. So we're very excited. Okay. All right. Well, we don't have any more questions. So I hope that you guys had fun hanging out with me. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of Padfoot Palms, Poodles, and Pals. And as always, be kind, rewind.